Well, hello, Community Bible Church. Welcome to another edition of A Verse a Day, our online daily Bible study videos as we're going through the book of First John, one verse at a time. So I hope that you're having a good week so far. If you have any kids in the Brooksville area, they are invited out to come join us on our Wednesday night kids programs. And then tomorrow night, Thursday night, for all the adults, we have our community group here at church at 7 o'clock. So I want to invite you out to those. But let's go ahead and get started here on verse 7. It says, "Beloved, I am writing you no new commandment, but an old commandment that you have had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word that you have heard." All right, so he starts out by saying, "Beloved." That just means those that I love, I deeply love. That's really from agape, unconditional love there. So he's saying, I truly, deeply love you, and I want you to know this. He says, "I am writing you no new commandment." Now, as we have been talking just through chapter 1 and chapter 2, he has been continually advising them to walk in the light, right? And to abide in the Word of God, to not walk in darkness. And now, this particular language wasn't necessarily extremely common. I think that you probably find it in a few areas in the Old Testament, but it wasn't extremely common. And so he clarifies this and says, what I'm telling you is not some new revelation. It's not some new commandment, some new thing that you have to do on top of everything that you already have learned, but rather it is an old commandment that you have had from the beginning. And so we have to go back, we have to kind of think, okay, so what is he actually talking about? I believe that he's referencing Deuteronomy 6:5, to love the Lord your God with all your heart, strength, soul, and mind there, and to love him with everything that you have. And then there's also, I believe, Leviticus 18, where it talks about to love your neighbor as well. And so he's saying that these commandments aren't differing from the Old Testament commandments, the Old Testament laws that were handed down, but rather they're just an extension of it. It's just another way of putting those old commandments. And it says the old commandment is the word that you have heard. He's like, you've heard these things, you know these things. This should not come as a surprise to you when I say you ought to walk in the light, that you ought to abide in God's love, that you are to remain in him. You have heard these things ever since being a small child, because this is primarily, I think at this point, talking to those Jewish believers. And so this is the reminder. Now, it's a good perspective for us in the New Testament time period to remember that the Bible is one cohesive thought, one cohesive story. And so oftentimes people that are a little bit ignorant of the Bible will say, well, the Old Testament's all about, God's anger, and the New Testament is all about God's love, and the Old Testament is about rule following, and the New Testament is about relationship. But it's not really like that at all. The whole story of the Bible really is about God's love and also his justice, and that is all centered around the cross, because at the cross, both his love was displayed and his justice was satisfied in that singular event. And so it all points to Jesus Christ on the cross. It all looks to Jesus Christ on the cross. We are supposed to live in response to that, whether we were an Old Testament saint looking forward to Jesus Christ, or a New Testament saint looking back to Jesus Christ there. But that is the singular message of this story. And so everything in the New Testament that is shared, certainly there are details there, but there's really no new commandments, but rather just an extension of the old commandment, the Old Testament law and things like that. This new covenant that was added on top of the old is still an extension of God's love and God's mercy and God's justice. Nothing has changed in regards to that. Now, tomorrow in our next video, we're going to see though that even though it is the same, it is a little bit different as well. And so tune in tomorrow.